Hi everyone, I'm Jennifer, the president of the Film Lab, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to the first of our Fall-Winter Unfinished Works Screenplay Reading and Workshop series. The coordinators have been working very hard to create a great event for you. So before I turn it over to them, some very quick housekeeping. Unless you are one of the actors, you should be watching this via Periscope, Twitter, or YouTube. Now, after the reading, we're going to have a brief intermission to allow those who want to actively participate in the workshop with the writer to join a private Zoom, which you will have gotten a link to if you RSVP. Now, if you choose to join the Zoom, you will be recorded and live streamed. So if you prefer to stay out of the spotlight and simply observe, that is absolutely fine. Just stay on the platform where you are now. Last but not least, a big thank you not only to our event coordinators, Xiao-Lin and Ginger, but to all of the actors, one of whom, Tamar, my girl, had to jump in last minute. And of course, to our tech guru, oh, I pointed the wrong way, Ray Lanuza, who is streaming this event for all of you. Now it is my pleasure to turn the show over to Keeland Bowers to introduce his co-coordinator, the writer, the script, everything, the entire event. So, Keeland, welcome, and everyone enjoy.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Well, waiting for my co-coordinator to get here, but otherwise, my name is Keeland. My co-coordinator is Ginger. She'll be here in just a few moments, but we are the coordinators for the Film Lab's Unfinished Works program. The Film Lab has been a nonprofit that's been working to create racial parity among, or racial and gender parity in the entertainment media since 1998. And Unfinished Works is a program where we provide workshops to diverse and cutting-edge new scripts and writers. And the scripts that we'll now read to you will be performed by members of the Film Lab's actor directory. Ginger, are you here?
Hello. What?
Awesome. So just kind of introduce the program and the Film Lab. Do you want to talk about the reads and the actors performed by?
Just wanted to let everyone know that there is a 40-minute call limit. So if we can't finish the script in time, we'll make sure we let everyone know and we'll provide a summary of the ending. And I wanted to introduce our cast: Susanna Lee, Tamara Lopez, Lisa Lang, Melissa Skirball, Danielle Ma. I'm Ginger Ifan Chen, and last but not certainly least, our narrator, Mami Kimura. So is everyone ready to start our reading?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. The Two Countries pilot written by Xiao-Lin.
Rigel.
Sorry that I'm so bad at names. Okay. Interior airport gate morning on Super July 2010. A white mother, Lola, late 40s, white father, Dave, late 40s, and Chinese daughter, Taylor, 12, city girl, social butterfly, in different exteriors. You're growing up, but still, should I read this? And then, the close with family, only child. Sit on the chairs waiting to board. Taylor has a slight scar on her upper lip from the cleft palate surgeries. She's on her iPad with her headphone in, a black suitcase in front of her. Lola hands her a boarding pass. She takes it without saying a word. Attention all passengers. Flight 286, non-stop from Los Angeles to Maine, is now boarding. Passengers in Group A. Passenger in Group A, get up from line. Laura spot another white family with a Chinese daughter sitting low behind them.
Hey, look, another family just like ours.
Taylor glows as her mom waves at family. The other white mom noticed that this family also looks like they have a daughter adopted from China and waves back. Laura stands up and goes to meet the approaching mom, who is dragging her daughter by the arm.
Hey, I'm Laura, and this is my daughter, Taylor.
Nice to meet you. I'm Tracy, and this is my daughter, Elizabeth.
Tracy, white, early 40s, and wears a t-shirt that says "In Central Ohio Families with Children from China, Heritage Trip" on it in red letters. And she gestures to her Chinese daughter, Elizabeth, A 12, Midwestern, book-smart kid, only child, wearing black leggings and a tank top standing reading a book, Mockingjay. Lola noticed Tracy's t-shirt.
I had a feeling your daughter was adopted from China. So is Taylor. You're from Ohio?
Yes, we were visiting family out here and decided for Lizzie to fly from here and us back to Ohio instead of 2 planes.
Oh, Lola looks over her shoulder, waves to Taylor.
Taylor, come over here and say hi.
Taylor looks up from her iPod, takes out her headphone, groans, and gives a weak wave.
No, Taylor, come over here and say hi to Elizabeth. You'll never guess. She's adopted from China too.
Taylor reluctantly stands up and goes over to Elizabeth.
Hey, I'm Taylor. You're Elizabeth, right?
Yeah.
Both girls stand awkwardly next to each other and go back to ignoring each other.
So you're going to Maine as well. Let me guess, Taylor's also going to Holt Adoption International Week at Camp Cedar Crest.
Yep. To be honest, I signed her up. She wasn't all that enthusiastic about going.
Oh, same here. I think we're more excited for them to go to this camp than they are. I just think it's so important for them to get to know others who can really understand what it's like. Lizzie, why don't you try to get to know Taylor? Both of you are going to the same camp for a week.
As the two moms continue talking,
I see your parents also introduce you to every Asian adoptee they see.
I know the supermarket parking lot, McDonald's, the theater. It's like, we get it. We're Asian.
interior Volkswagen station wagon, daytime. A white early 50s scurry-haired mother drives on the highway. The car's top is open. In the passenger seat is Emily, her daughter, 13, close to mom, only child, authentic, friendly, but a little socially awkward. A petite Chinese girl. Emily wears cat-eye sunglasses. The moms and daughter are loudly singing to Let's Go by the Cars.
I like the nightlife, baby, she says. Are you excited about this week, Emily?
I guess. Kind of nervous. I don't know anyone. What if others know each other and there's bugs?
Emily sweats a back chat and came in through the open roof of the car.
Only for a week, and you'll get to know them. I think it's important for you to get to know other adoptees. You all have similar experiences. Who knows? Maybe you'll stay in touch after camp.
Maybe.
Well, just give it a chance. And if you really hate it, you can call me and I'll come pick you up. We only live 2 hours away.
Emily takes a nervous sigh and looks back out in passenger window, humming to the next song. Cut to exterior train station, daytime. People wait on Amtrak platform as a commuter train barrels through. They hold on tight on their coat and loose item due to the train's wind. A father, Chris, 50s, white, boarding, hands 2 train tickets to his Chinese daughter, Stephanie, 12, playful, energetic, youngest of 2 children, wearing a Boston Red Sox sweatshirt.
Steph, here's your tickets. Don't lose them.
Thanks, Dad.
Call me and Mom when you get there.
Yeah.
I'm serious, Stephanie. This is the first time you're going away.
I've done sleepovers.
You know, away for a long period of time. But I know you're gonna have a blast at the adoption camp.
Don't call it that.
She turns away from him, looking out on the tracks from the train.
Hey, turn that frown upside down.
He goes in and with his finger physically tries to move Stephanie's lip into the smile. Stephanie swats him away, giggling. A train arrives.
Okay, the train is here.
She gives a quick kiss to her dad on the cheek.
Love to Mom and Brendan, too.
Of Stephanie's goodbye, father opened his mouth.
Yes, I'll call the minute this train arrives in Maine.
End of cold open. Act 1, exterior camps and Crest daytime. There's a large sign, welcome to Holt International Adoption Week at Camp Cedar Crest. Cars roll in, some stop in front and drop passengers off, others turn left toward the parking area. Camp counselors, high school, early 20s, and some white, some Asian, most female, wear green Camp Cedar Crest t-shirts, direct car to where they can park. Emily and her mother's Volkswagen station wagon pulls up and is directed to the left. Stephanie arrives in a taxi that drops her off in front of the main camp doors. She gets out of the taxi with her duffel bags and begins to log in towards the stairs on the main cabin. A white female counselor, Ashley, early 20s, bubbly personality, wearing her green t-shirts tied up at the waist, excitedly ran over to Stephanie. Stephanie takes a couple of steps back as this overexcited counselor approaches her.
Hi, I'm Ashley. What's your name? Nice to meet you. You can wait in the main cabin with your stuff until everyone else is done unpacking their cars.
Stephanie opens the doors of the main cabin and enters. Elizabeth and Taylor arrive in a shared taxi. The taxi driver takes out their suitcase, puts them on the ground, waves, and drives off. Ashley turns and notices Elizabeth and Taylor standing with their luggage. She bounds over to them.
Hi, and you two are?
I'm Elizabeth.
Taylor.
I'm Ashley. It's so cool you two know each other.
We just met on the plane ride here.
Oh, where are you from?
I'm from Ohio, but I was in LA visiting family, so I flew from there.
I'm from LA.
Cool. I'm one of the head counselors for this week, so if you two need anything, find me. You can wait inside the cabin as others get ready for their orientation.
Elizabeth and Taylor wheel and they carry their suitcase up the stairs into the main cabin. The screen door slams behind them. The cabin is filled with another adoptees, most East Asian, mainly girls, chit-chatting on their phones and repacking or looking for certain items. Elizabeth and Taylor sit down on an empty bench. Elizabeth accidentally knocks off somebody's water bottle from the bench.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Elizabeth, or Lizzie, nice to meet you.
I'm Taylor.
No.
We may have someone muted. Sorry, Ginger cutting in. Can you make sure you're not muted? It might be Danielle. No? All right, let's keep going.
I'm from Boston. Well, outside of Boston, but I just say Boston.
I get it. I'm from outside of LA, Burbank, close to Disney Studios.
Oh, that's where that is. You told me on the plane, but I was too scared to ask where it was.
That's cool.
I'm from Columbus, Ohio. It's close to nothing.
Nice to meet you both.
Same.
Emily and her mom enter the main cabin where others are waiting.
Maybe go ahead and play Mother.
Oh, Mother, okay, give me a hug. Emily brushes and reluctantly gives her mom a hug in front of everyone. To her mother's surprise, she also had a kiss on the cheek.
Bye, Mom.
Bye, Cookie.
Go.
Oh, and she playfully pushes her mom out of the screen door. Emily turns and looks into the room full of Asian faces that look similar to hers.
This is going to be an interesting week.
Fade out. Exterior, a gassy field later.
Pull.
Tug of war is being played. It is an icebreaker. Counselors versus campers. All of the counselors are on the right side, campers on the left. Head counselor Ashley is running around to each side of the road, trying to boost morale on the first day. There are multiple groans and some cheers from the campers and laughs from the counselors.
I didn't sign up for this physical activity.
Taylor, who is in front of Emily, overhears her, and she looks back towards Emily.
I thought we would be sitting around singing Kumbaya.
You mean Asian camp songs?
You know, any Lizzie? We can light incense and reminisce about returning to the motherland. I'm Taylor, by the way.
Taylor gives a tug of rope and started to slip towards the counselor's sides.
I'm Emily.
All of a sudden, the rope falls in the campers' favor. The counselors fall down on top of each other and laughing at their loss.
Did we win? Does someone have their mic muted? Stephanie? Okay.
I can play Stephanie if you want.
Okay, go ahead, Danielle. Fill in for now.
We-
What is it, Keelan? Okay, let's...
Yeah, Lisa's playing Stephanie. Lisa, do you have a problem with your mic?
I don't think so. Can you hear me?
Okay, now
Yep,
we
I can hear you now.
Great.
Did we win?
Emily?
That would be Ginger. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Lisa, take it from the top.
Nope, just keep going. We're gonna start at the top of.
Okay, I think so. I wasn't even paying attention.
I wasn't even pulling that much.
I think I saw one dude at the front.
Asian?
Yeah, Asian dudes exist.
As adoptees, though, that's rare.
True. Because everyone wants a boy in Asia.
Did you hear that because of all the Chinese girls are, there might be a shortage of women for the men?
Serves them right for giving us up. Bad
group looks at her.
Bad one? Sometimes I make bad jokes, can totally call me out on it. All my friends do.
All right, that was a great game, everyone.
Jackie, early 20s, Korean, long black hair, wearing her Camp Cedar Crest t-shirts and tucked into high-waisted jeans, removes herself from the pile of giggling counselors and stands in front of the campers.
I'm Jacqueline, but everyone calls me Jackie. Along with Ashley, I will be your head counselor and go-to. I will also be in one of your cabins. I think I'm assigned to cabin 8. Ashley does night checks and stays in the upstairs part of the main cabin that you all were just in.
Night checks? What are we, 12?
A couple of campers overheard Elizabeth and giggled. Cut to exterior cabin 8 moments later. A group of 8 campers are waiting with their things outside. They look up the sign carved in wood that says cabin 8. It's great.
Hey, I guess we're in the same cabin.
I guess we are. Cool.
He looks around the group and notices Taylor and Stephanie towards the back of the group.
I see Taylor and Stephanie too.
Great.
Jackie goes to the front of the crowd and locks the wooden cabin door with a key that was on a lanyard around her neck. She pushes through the second screen door and goes inside. She comes out pushing a large rock with her foot, uses and pop open the main door.
All right, everyone. This is your home for the week, so make it comfy. You can leave all your stuff here when you're not using it. Each time we leave the cabin, I lock the door with this key.
She shows the key from her neck.
So your stuff is safe. You can sleep wherever you want, with whoever you want. That sounded weird. Next to or in groups of whoever you want, I meant. The last bed on the left side is mine. Any questions?
One girl, Ali, raises her hand. She is an awkwardly tall Chinese girl with glasses and pigtails.
Yes, it's Ali, isn't it?
Yes, are there bathrooms?
Yes, the cabin has 3 toilets, 2 showers, and 1 sink.
There is groans around the one sink.
Oh, come on, it's just for the week. Come on, get in there.
She steps aside so the campus can go in. Emily enters first and claims the first bed on the right side. Elizabeth follows and claims the bed next to Emily. Taylor and Stephanie enter. Emily waves at them.
Hey, come sleep with us.
The girls giggle at how Emily's sentence sounds.
Cool. I got top bunk.
That means I got bottom.
Jackie enters.
You guys have about 15 minutes to get your things together, maybe change your clothes, put on deodorant, I don't know. And then we'll all head to the next activity together.
She takes a piece of paper out of her jean pocket.
Electives for today are calligraphy, archery, glass blowing, or dumpling making. Yes, you gotta eat the dumplings. And after you're all stuffed with dumplings or have ink poisoning or got an arrow in the butt or burned, just kidding, we will all meet back at the cabin and head to dinner together.
There are groans about going dinner together.
I know, you're all capable of walking, but it's just for this first night so no one gets lost and everyone arrives on time. After that, you're on your own.
The group starts to go back to their activities.
Oh, wait, I almost forgot. If you're changing, you might want to bring a sweatshirt. It can get chilly here at night. And after dinner, there's a super fun surprise night event.
Lizzie, here's your Asian campfire songs.
Yeah.
The girls continue to unpack their bags, make their beds, and place some items in the cavies in front of their beds. A boot falls out of Elizabeth's bag, and Taylor picks it up.
My mom has some of these too.
My mom thinks it's good luck. She tries a little too hard to connect me to China, but guess the superstition rubbed off on me.
My mom totally tries too hard to connect me with other Chinese kids, and I'm in LA. Just because I'm Chinese doesn't mean I want to be the only one to be friends with Chinese people, you know?
Taylor nods understandingly, and Elizabeth leans into Taylor's ear.
I was a little nervous about this week, to be honest.
I'm so glad you said that. I was nervous on the plane here too, but I didn't want to say anything to you, a complete stranger.
I get it.
The two of them go back to unpacking their things, and Elizabeth places her Buddha on top of her cubby. The other campers begin to settle down and sit on their beds. Jackie takes this as a cue that people are done.
Okay, everyone, get behind me. Who wants to be line leader?
Jackie waits, but no one laughs at her joke.
Tough crowd. Let's go.
The group exits the cabin with Jackie in front. The group starts to walk, and they walk back to the main cabin where another counselor is waiting with a clipboard.
Hey, Jordan.
Jordan, 20s, female, tall, confident African-American with long braids, and waved back to Jackie. Who is Jordan?
This is all of Cabin 8. Okay, so for this afternoon's elective activities, you have the choice of learning how to write Chinese calligraphy, how to shoot at trees with bows and arrows, how to blow up some glass, or learn how to make authentic Chinese dumplings. Yum. Now, raise your hand and come forward for calligraphy.
Jordan looks at the campers who begin to come forward. Emily and Stephanie step forward. They look back at Taylor and Elizabeth.
When I was in China, I opted out of dumplings to see the green tea plantations. Totally regret it. Just a bunch of leaves. So this time, I'm getting some dumplings.
I've never made dumplings before. I think I'll give it a try with Lizzie.
Treat yourself. We'll teach you illiterates how to write when we get back if you teach us how to cook like your Chinese grandma.
Deal.
Campus campers goes their separate ways to the activities. End of Act 1.
Okay, so now we are almost running out of time. Keelan?
Yeah, we're going to end up cutting it there. That was fantastic, you all. Let's give everyone a hand. You guys did incredibly. I first of all want to thank the actors. I'd like to thank the writer, Ava Rigelhaupt, for allowing us to read your script over this format. This is our first virtual Zoom, so we've had some minor technical difficulties, but overall I think we ended up doing pretty well here. But that was fantastic. Unfortunately, like you probably know already, we won't be able to finish this whole script, but please, please, please join us for the workshop after intermission to hear a brief synopsis of how this script ends, as well as the rest of the season, because this is a television pilot, and to participate in a discussion about the script, what you thought, your feelings about the first act and the cold open. Once again, I'd like to thank the writer, or the actors for volunteering their time and talent, and to all of you for watching from home. Yeah, Ginger, do you have anything to add?
There we go. I was muted. Thank you so much. That was a wonderful, wonderful conclusion. All right.
Well, I do think we have another 2 minutes and 20 seconds. So Ava, I believe you're here. I can read a brief synopsis of where this was supposed to go for the rest of this season. I know that you kind of planned for the first couple of episodes to take place at the camp with these main characters, with Taylor, Stephanie, Elizabeth, and Emily. And they'll continue to, hear from each other, agreeing, disagreeing. Yeah. Okay.
Would you like to give us a synopsis?
Yeah. Would you like to read it?
Yeah, the ending in the next few episodes. Can we?
Yes, I just have to pull up my own synopsis I emailed you.
That is, yes, I understand.
So,
Right.
But that was so good.
Since you have it in front of you, can you read the synopsis?
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks.
So you said that you planned for the first couple of episodes to take place at the camp with the four main characters, hearing from each other, often agreeing and disagreeing with different perspectives and emotions about adoption, while grappling with their own personal struggles. A big discussion and disagreement in the adoption world is if people want to search for their birth families. Some people do, some people don't. And after the camp, the girls will part ways, but keep in contact through old-fashioned letters, email, or the words. Oh my gosh.
We have less
world of social media.
Yeah.
Yes. Remember, this is set in 2010. I don't know if we covered that in the beginning, but this is a period piece. Eventually, they will all
2010 is period? Again. Oh my god.
I know, yes. It's hard to believe 2010 makes this a period piece. Oh my word. Oh, and one thing.
We're almost done. So thank you everyone for participating and putting your all into your acting. And if you would love to participate in the workshop, please do. We've sent a link. So thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of the night.
Oh, and happy birthday to one of our actors, Tamar Lopez. Is that a hand raised, Rachel? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, 1 second. Go ahead and unmute. Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't really sure how to. Technology is fun. Hi. So I was wondering about. I know just in the part we read, it was just getting going. So I was wondering if you get to see more of the relationship with the kids and the parents from the beginning later on, because it was like you sort of got to see the beginning of some development and what it was like for them, for the kids to be from different cultures from their parents. And that was kind of interesting to see. I was wondering if you've had any plans to go into more detail with that.
Should I answer the question or just let people continue? You on mute.
Yeah, if you'd like to go ahead and address that right now, since it is a direct question, I say go for it. Oh, now you're muted.
Because sometimes in critiques, there's you know, you just sit and listen as people give and write down instead of like answering questions. But so in this first script, or at least the first couple, maybe even the first season, depending on how I'm imagining it, it will mainly be taking place at the camp of these kids for a short weekend, I believe, meeting each other and getting to know each other. And then at the end of the camp, like, you know, that sappy camp goodbye, they will say goodbye and they'll stay in contact. And so it will be a little bit more like flashing back and forth of them in their different states. And yeah, living with their families, dealing with as there's one joke of that they all realize that almost all of them have white families. They're adopted into like white families. And because that is more common for adoptees, even in England and Western Europe. And so that'll be coming later. But the main portion for this entire script is at the camp and them figuring out, you know, kind of away from their parents, what would they think? And having conflicts of that some of them want to search for their birth families, some of them think learning Chinese is really important, different things like that.
Awesome. Rachel, does that answer your question?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Miranda, I think you also had your hand raised. Did you have something to say, or how did the script make you feel? I know we just read the first act, but go ahead. The floor is yours.
Yeah, so first of all, I do want to say that the dialogue definitely sounded very Ava. I had a couple of nice chuckles, and I really like the premise. I have two questions I'll just try to ask quickly. The first was just my curiosity about where the idea of the summer camp sprung from, and also if there are any particular arcs to look forward to for these characters.
Well, before Ava, you jump in there, I do want to say, I know we just answered one question, but this first half of the Zoom, I really want to dedicate to how the script made you all feel, especially to get preliminary feelings about it. What did you think about the conflict? What did you feel didn't work before we jump into, you know, why and asking questions and really delving into Ava responding to a lot of these? Is that going to be okay? Do you have any opinions about any of the main characters, Miranda, or, you know, any of the conflicts that you saw early on, just the relationships between the mothers, even that interaction between the daughter and or the two daughters in the beginning in the airport? That scene was, you know, stands out to me as a scene filled with a little bit of conflict and also just teenage angst to me personally. But do you have any feelings along those lines?
Oh yeah, absolutely. First of all, I just want to apologize for that misunderstanding. And yeah, I definitely do feel like there's a very real to life way that these conflicts are portrayed. I know that these are like outside my own experiences, but I think that whenever there's any type of commentary of any type about like one's lived experiences, I feel like there's a very human quality to it, if that makes any sense. Like it's like a sense of, even if it's something that you're outside of, like you get it, not in the sense that you get it, but like you understand the awkwardness of the situation, but it's also like in this very lighthearted, inviting way, which is a tone that I always appreciate in these types of works.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. I definitely think that you're right. There is something about the human experience that is relatable, even if you don't really understand the culture or someone's complete background, and that's not your life. You can still reflect your own life in other people's stories. And I think that's one of the things that makes television so impactful. And one of the things that makes the script so impactful is because it's telling a very human existence, a coming of age story, and it relates to people, even though it's not something that you would normally see on television with something like, you know, Friends or something of that nature. Not that I'm trying to bash Friends at all here. I know some people might, yeah. Hi, Ginger.
Hi. Mind if I get on?
Yes, you are on. Live and in color.
I think it's great how you portray teenage girls. I think it's there's some really human moments in there that I felt like, such as laughing when something might sound dirty. That's such a teenage girl thing to do. That's universal no matter what. Like, even if you're a Chinese adoptee, if you're an American girl, and you hear something that's maybe tends to be a little, you can think of it as a little raunchy. You giggle and you laugh, and I think that's something that's a moment that really made me love the characters, because I was like, these are real girls. Yeah.
Is there anyone else that would like to share? I'd like to open it up to the actors as well, those that participated in the read. If you have anything that you'd like to add as far as how you felt reading for certain characters and feeling these characters. I know we shared the script with you all about a week or two ago, and so just to hear from you all what you thought as far as, the things that you saw in these characters and what you wanted to bring to life, especially.
It's Susanna. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Hi, Susanna.
Hi. Taylor was so much fun. I kind of wanted to find out a little bit more about where she originated from. Did you take like bits and pieces of, well, I'll let you answer that.
Well, once again, well, how much time do we have? I know we've been here for a minute. Let's hold off for one more minute before we touch questions. Was there anything anyone else is there anything anyone else has to add about how they felt about the characters, or needs, wants, conflict? I know we didn't really get to the resolution of the ending, but what they would like to see come out of future scripts, the pilot, or the season arc, the pilot season in general, that kind of stuff, before we go on to questions directly for Ava.
I really loved the character Jackie. She was so much fun, and I know she only came out for that little bit, but she remains a good, solid character for the rest of the script. And I love how she's such a positive force in these girls' lives, and she's also an adoptee, as you later find out. And so she can relate, and how she tries to bridge the gap between, her more acceptance of it and the teens who are just sort of coming to terms with it. But yeah, she was a really fun character. Thank you.
I actually, because you talked about how they would meet at the camp and then they would separate, and I actually thought about strangely Game of Thrones, where the structure is like you meet everyone, you get to know all the main important characters, and then they sort of scatter across this world, which we then explore. There's people from Boston, there's people from Ohio. I think it's an opportunity to explore what it means to be a Chinese adoptee in a big city versus in the Midwest. So I thought that was a really good structure.
Nice. Rachel, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting, Danielle, that you mentioned you find out that one of the counselors is also not adoptee, because I was going to ask if any of the counselors had been campers at the camp previously, and sort of if you learn anything about their experiences, because I thought that would be an interesting sort of way for the kids to bond with the counselors as well as each other. And I guess I just wanted to say like that I thought that like the kids had this, it was a very interesting depiction of the characters, because the tone has created this sort of nice space where you can move between like these light-hearted moments of levity and sarcasm and these more like dramatic, tense moments where you explore things about personality and origin and heart, and you've given yourself this nice, honest space that lets you sort of do both. And sometimes that could be totally confusing, but I feel like in this case, it really fits and it feels pure. I think that's really good.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think what you said about honesty is really important as far as when it comes to writing, especially for television. There's an authenticity to TV, drama, and comedy that if it's not there, it's really hard to create it. There's no way that you can just force a sense of authenticity into a script, and that's really prevalent in this one. Now, there is a song that was, Danielle, I know your camera is off, but there was a song that was prepared. Now, what was
We were ready for it. We were so ready. But
we were so ready for it. We didn't get a chance to hear it.
I can do it for you now. I'm not the best singer in the world, but I can.
maybe we could do like one stanza.
Yeah, if you can do
Danielle and I like talked about this song. I sent her like a video clip of old like young kids singing it. Just like low quality.
Wow.
Is this actually like a real Asian camping song? Is
Well,
this a
if you can give a quick backstory to the song
Quick
itself,
backstory to
as
this
far as
song.
yes, because we didn't get to it in the script.
This song, so every year, CUFCC, Central Ohio Families with Children from China, puts on a Chinese New Year every year. And they do like, you know, if you go on their YouTube video, they do like cute little things, like the kids dance with like skirts, and they do the dragon thing, and everyone's like underneath, kind of like, you know, like a large walkable puppet, and you go up and you get your little red envelope, and someone does it. So this guy comes and does like yo-yo tricks and everything. And so this song, I don't know who wrote it. I don't know. It's not famous. You can't find it on like online, and it's called Two Countries. So it's probably written by a parent or a teacher. And it is just a cute little song about young kids, kind of similar, grappling with like, I have two countries, but like both of them are a part of me. And I think for one of the young kids choir, one time they sang it. And I think sometimes like the video I sent Danielle, I think it was kind of muddled because I think the lyrics from like the CD were in English, but the kids learned how to say some lines in Chinese. So it's all like saying at the same time, but it's about two countries, you know, the country I was born in and the country I call home. For them, it's America. And that's basically the history from that organization.
Okay, yeah. And then I was just gonna add, yeah, so this is at the very end of Act 3, was it? Yeah, of Act 3, and so very end of the script, and Jackie has basically had everyone introduce themselves and give their two countries, which country they were born in and which country they call home. So then she says, all right, we're all gonna learn a song, and this is the song. I have two countries to call my very own. The country I was born in, and the country, what's my alarm? And the country I call home. I have a very interesting cultural identity, because you see these two countries are a part of me.
That was amazing. Like much better than I could have done on short notice. Yeah, and in the video, the kids hold up like a Chinese flag and an American flag. They hold them to the door. It's like really cute. You know, they're like 2 years old. The kids that are like now my age. So that video was a long time ago. Like my friends, and I'm like, well, there's my friend and her mom. But yeah, that's it, and that's the real tune. Thank you, Danielle.
So is that song the kind of the origin point for the title? Because the title is Two Countries. And that was kind of the bridge to, wow.
Yeah, I remember before I wrote this script, I wanted like a video of that because I was talking about adoption or something else. And I asked my good friend whose mom I had a feeling probably had it. And actually she didn't. She had to ask another mom who like had to ask, basically search in the archives of a dusty box to find the video. And she emailed it to me. So luckily I had it to send to Danielle, otherwise I probably would not have gotten it in.
I was gonna say, actually it might have sounded a little different to you because we were trying to discern it from the video and then discern it from the recording of your voice, but my boyfriend is a musician, So he was the one playing the piano and played the ukulele. So that's where that's where you hear. I can send that to you if you like, Ava. But yeah,
Had a whole recording studio on this. Yes, Rachel.
Backtrack. I was like, wow, we're getting real.
Sorry. All right, Rachel, go ahead.
Yeah, I just like, because it's like also the title, and it's total like where you got like the idea for it and the song already exists. It works as sort of like the opening song for a TV show. Well, I can kind of like see it opening, and it has like sort of a very like classic like Chinese like calligraphy art drawings that like sort of turn more modern or something.
Oh my gosh, we have a full production studio on this already. I love it. We have musicians, we have a title card sequence already. Now, we've talked about a lot of things that we loved, characters, plot, the story, but what about things that need work? I mean, part of a workshop is talking about the things that need to be built upon to enhance the script as well. I know one of the things for me is I'd love to see more conflict, especially from some of the young girls. I know with 4 young teenage girls, not all those girls gonna get along. So minor things of, and not large, you know, doesn't have to be low amount situations, but there is lacking to me personally, a sense of conflict among some of the girls. Now that's not necessary, but that's just one of the things that I saw personally. Does anyone else have anything that they'd like to add? I know Miranda, you might have had your hand up for a brief moment.
Yes. Actually, I want to piggyback off of that. You know, like I think, you know, it doesn't even have to be like conflict as in like people dislike each other. Because I was thinking to myself when I was listening to the script, I was like, oh, maybe it'd be good if there was like tension. But then I was thinking to myself, well, sometimes people just like get along, but there's like clashes of ideas. Like, you know, I think we saw hints of that during the tug of war scene, maybe when I don't remember exactly what it was, but someone made a comment that everyone was kind of looking at her so like you know, that could just be a source of conflict, just like differing ideas, differing views, perspectives, or internal conflict. And I think another thing I had was, you know, just to sometimes maybe allow for more moments of not silence, but just like you have very, very super witty dialogue that I absolutely love. But you know, maybe sometimes having some moments where there can just be like an exchange between 2 characters that's like through looks rather than through dialogue. Like I think, like for instance, with the airport scene, I can see these 2 characters just not talking to each other the whole way through until they get to the camp. So just like the characters just probably just looking at each other, just like this mutual understanding of the experience. Then once they're at the camp, maybe they can just have this whole like, oh God, I'm so sorry, you know, it's like this, it's like this, it's like this. So just like allowing the action to build up to that and explore the characters and their development and their emotions.
Lovely. I do have a note where we definitely see that these 4 girls are very different from their opening scenes, but as we go on, I feel like more can be done to separate them. More can be done to make them all unique in their own way. Because once we get away from those opening scenes and everyone's interacting with each other, things can get a little blurred. I mean, this is the first episode, and I think this is the one where you can really clearly define them. Even if you have to edge into things that are a little more dramatic or things that could be a little more archetype, like an archetype. I think this is the time to sort of establish the bold strokes instead of getting into the details perhaps in later episodes where we can get more in depth.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that we had 2 newcomers join us recently. We have one Armand. I'm not going to say him. I don't want to butcher your name. So, but and the young lion. Is that correct? I don't know if that is your government name, but I will refer to you as the young lion if you would like. But we're talking about the scripts that we did the reading for, 2 countries, and we're discussing, wonderful, wonderful. You have another round of applause. But we're talking about needs, wants, conflicts. We're talking constructively now, but if you'd like to start with a compliment and go into a constructive critique, that would also be wonderful as well. However you'd like to continue, if you'd like to speak at this time.
Yeah, of course. Well, first of all, I think it was an amazing program. I think everybody put a lot of energy into it and really engaged the audience in a great way. So kudos to everybody for bringing it together, and a big congratulations to Ava for creating characters and creating a world that was enjoyable. And, you know, somebody being an outsider of that world was still able to be myself, being myself, an outsider of that world. I still felt totally free to dive into it and to become invested in the characters and to learn about who they are, and you know, not feel ashamed necessarily of my ignorance in that world and the emotions and the insecurities that come from being, you know, a child adoptee and in a new environment, meeting people from all around the world. And I think that there was an opportunity for a story such as this to apply to a very specific audience. And I think Ava did a great job, and the actors did a great job of portraying a story that, from what I heard, was worldly and something that can unite us and something that knocks down walls instead of, you know, creates them and gets rid of stigmas, which I think is important right now. So all's to say, great job all around. I really enjoyed where the story was going. A few thoughts. First of all, I liked the setting. I think summer camp in general, for a kid, for a young adult, is a very emotional and anxiety ridden time. You know, I mean, even when the counselor said there's a night activity, there is still a lurch in my stomach, like, oh my God, what does that mean? You know, am I gonna have to talk to girls, you know? And I just think that there's just to add that added layer of being an adoptee on top of that is such a rich setting for just to get involved with and to see all of the challenges and the complexities that come along with that. So I love the setting. I thought the dialogue was, I thought the dialogue for the most part felt organic. And I think there were a lot of great one-liners, like, we get it, we're Asian. McDonald's parking lots, Walmart's parking lots, like, we don't have to be introduced to every other Asian person that we come across. I just think there's a nice sense of comedy in there. The parent figures, you know, I can see, and I came in right at the end of what Ginger was saying. So let me know if I'm kind of touching upon the same things, but for the parent figures, there's support and there's excitement and enthusiasm. But I think in that early part of the script, I might have liked to hear a bit more of the parents' nerves that they might be trying to hide to support the children. You know, they want the children to have a great time, but at the same time, it's a new experience for them too. They're sending their kids away, and it's, you know, a specialized summer camp with a mission, and, you know, it could be the first time for plenty of them. And so there are anxieties and there are fears, and I think these kids are old enough and aware enough to pick up on some of those nerves from the parents. And so I think it'd be interesting to kind of get that sense of tension, even if it's kind of underplayed right off the bat, as opposed to everybody really being happy. And it's like, oh, you're going to have a great time, you're going to be fine. Summer camp is scary. And summer camp, when you have that, you know, that added element of like, oh shit, I have to you know, there's a part of me where I'm trying to figure out who I am. That's scary too. Turn that frown upside down. I think here's an example of when we could create a bit of dialogue where it means turn that frown upside down, but it could be something that's like unique between the father and the child. You know what I'm saying? Just kind of one of those things where it means that, but they have some secret code word, which I think adds like complexity to the characters there. I'm from Columbus. It's close to nothing. That's pretty funny.
Armand, I don't want to cut in too much
Oh,
on
no,
you,
I'm
but
sorry.
I do want to say that, yeah, we only have about 7 minutes left.
Okay.
I know some people did have questions for Ava as well. Ava,
Yeah.
if you wanted to address anyone at this time, anyone, if you had questions to directly pose to Ava, we'll take about 5 minutes to do that. And then at the end, we'll do about a minute for closing as well. But I do want to say thank you to everyone that's been so wonderful at volunteering their thoughts, their feelings, their emotions, their opinions, their critiques. It's been very wonderful to hear everyone go through. So Ava, I'll yield the floor to you.
Yes, thank you so much, everyone. To address the questions, one person asked like where this idea came from, the summer camp. And yeah, the summer camp came from a true story of just a weekend summer camp I went to that was specifically made for adoptees. I think some people were domestically adopted, but the majority, as in this camp, were adopted from China. I think it was with like this large organization called like Holt International Adoption that does domestic adoption from other countries, but their majority is they have a lot of Asian adoptees, or a lot of Asian adoptees' parents sent them to that camp. So it was a real life story. And the people like who Taylor was based on, so it was also based on it. Those people are a mashup of, as people write characters, a mashup of myself, of people that I knew. So basically myself, people I knew that were also adopted based on like my 4 good adopted friends who I knew from that Central Ohio families with children from China. Their personalities mixed in with, you know, something that might be a little bit better for dramatic effect and whatnot and all that different stuff. And the reason why I think Keelan was pressing people for conflict, like ask about conflict, is because that was one of the things that I wanted people to discuss. Because I wrote this and I think it was really great that someone said about, you know, the like tension or different clashes of ideas, and also the parents' nerves. And I think when I write my story, sometimes I write characters that I love, but I have no clue what's going to happen to them. And I wanted this story to be similar to like a Modern Family, maybe like, you know, and not a conflict that's like Jumanji, you know, not like a action movie, overall very obvious conflict. I wanted it to be like, you know, small conflict, oh, this kid got his head stuck in the floorboard, or a conflict between siblings. And it was basically one of my very first pilots, so it's not all of my ideas were fleshed out the way I thought of them, but some conflict comes up where one kid knows Chinese and the other doesn't, and she feels bad about knowing Chinese. And I couldn't fit it all into one pilot, but you know, the birth family search is going to come up. Just different feelings about Chinese and whiteness and race and being a female, and that kind of stuff is like also hard to show for TV because it's also internal, right? You might bicker with your friend, but it's a real internal thing to decide to like search for your birth family. And I think that's where I need to work on the girls maybe not getting along as well. You know, no girl, maybe I wrote it because I was hoping everyone gets along in the world, but they don't. I think, yeah, I think the first day everyone starts to get along, and obviously people get on each other's nerves. So that's where I want to work on. I see a question.
Ava, we did have a very good question being asked by the young line. Before we get to this question, Rachel, I see you keep raising your hand. Is that just to rub your hair, or do you have a question?
Sorry, I have like a million thoughts, but I also just fiddle a lot.
Oh, no worries. Okay, we're gonna jump to this question and then we'll jump to you, okay? So, Ava, where do you envision this TV project having a home? Network TV, cable, streaming, Netflix? Do you have it, or do you see it as having 22 episodes, or do you see it having, you know, the 10 episode thing that's all the rage right now?
I think I wrote it as a half-hour comedy pilot, but now everyone's saying that kind of setup is being mashed together because, you know, Netflix should just sit and binge, and some comedies are now an hour. So I think I'm gonna like copy and paste that question because I'm not even 100% sure, but I definitely think, because I wrote it for myself and also to apply to some different things. So I kept it in very strict framework for those applications. But I think, yeah, I think it possibly could be a cable thing, like every season. And I think it has enough for 22 half-hour episodes or 10 longer episodes, if that makes sense. But I will have to think about that. I'm going to screenshot that question. Thank you.
We only have less than a minute left. So unfortunately, we cannot get to all the questions. However, I will say, if you, as a part of this audience, or if you at home have any questions that you would like to ask Ava, please, please, please email us at unfinishedworks@filmlab.org. That's unfinishedworks@film-lab.org. We'll make sure that your comments are received, your questions are heard. We'll remove your contact info before we send it to Ava, so everything will be anonymized before anonymized before Ava sees it. But we so thank you so much for being here. We would like to thank our audience for being here. Thank you, everyone. I'd like to thank the actors and our lovely narrator, Mamie Kimura, who is here. And once again, I'd like to thank you, Ava. This has just been so amazing. Yes, these claps.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ava. Thanks, everyone.
All right, thank you for attending. I think
this has been so lovely.
All we have. All right.
Thank you.
And Ryan E. Yip, I believe you'll be at the one in January, is that correct?
Yeah, Ryan's an upcoming writer on our roster, so thank you for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, I'm happy to observe here. I actually had to work late, so I didn't hear all of the table read, but enjoyed the conversation.
Well, we are so glad to have you. Oh, look at this, writers supporting writers. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
But the next one is the 16th of December.